This is Jacqueline White of the Fannin County Historical Commission. Today is Thursday, November the 12th, 2009, and I'm going to be talking with Mr. Roy Floyd. Roy?
All right, I'm Roy Floyd. I have with me Linda Floyd, who is my wife. We moved to Fannin County in 1979, or I think December of 78 actually. But the reason we moved here is we bought the radio station, KFYN. That was in 75, I guess. And it was a single radio station then, just an AM. And then we bought the FM, or built an FM here. We applied to the FCC and had an FM allotment given to us here in Fannin County. And that was in 1980, and built KFYZ radio here then. So we had radio stations in other cities. We were raised, both of us, in Frederick, Oklahoma, down in southwest Oklahoma. Both of us graduated from Frederick High School. And let's see, we had 2 children. Before that, we were down in Irving, Texas, where I was a youth director for a church, and we had a son down there, Sean. I couldn't tell you what year, 69, and then a daughter in Frederick, Oklahoma, and she was born in 76. So then we came here in late 78, in December of 78, and became a part of the community. Before that, we were a part of the Frederick, Oklahoma community for a short time, where I got back in radio once again in 1970, I think, 71 maybe. Bought the radio station in Frederick, 50% of it, and then ultimately started buying other radio stations around Texas and Oklahoma. And we came to Bonham, certainly with the side of being here for a short while, not staying here for very long. But it just has remained home. So we, in 1980, I think there was, and I can think of stories, all kinds of stories, but a gentleman by the name of Halstead got into some legal problems. He was a local pharmacist, and so he was on the city commission. I was asked to take an appointment to the city commission, and then subsequently elected several times thereafter into the early 90s, and then I got out of the city business, though working all the time for the city. I say for the city, but for the people, I guess would be better, through the Bonham Industrial Foundation, whom I had worked with since the late 70s, just as a member of that body. And I had done lots of work getting various industries here way back then, and then as we came forward, then again got involved in politics again in the early 2000 area, and have been mayor subsequently since then. So I was the first elected mayor of Bonham, Texas. Up until 4 years ago, the office of mayor throughout the history of the city was elected. The council, you were elected to the city council, to each position of the city council. There were 6 members of the city council, and then the council itself would go together and elect the mayor from among their body. And we changed the city charter 4 years ago, and the mayor is now duly elected as a mayoral position from the city. And so I was the first to do that, I guess 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, and this year elected a second time. We run for every 2 years for the mayor's job.
Weren't you mayor in the early 80s somewhere in
I
there?
was.
When I moved here, I believe you were.
I was mayor in the early 80s, I think, and I can't tell you exactly, it was 81 or 82.
I moved here in 81, and I thought you were mayor.
And then I was mayor then through, I think, early 90s. And then took off a while and then came back, so just can't get enough of a good thing.
No.
In the intervening period, we've worked on a lot of projects. We've seen some of them come and go. Of course, one of the main stalwarts since we've been here, and as far as job producers, has been General Cable. And for years and years, we had continuing problems with the cable. They would have good years and bad years, and in those bad years, they would say, well, we're going to take the Bonham plant out, and we would work with them to keep them here. And we did that on several occasions. And ultimately, they made a business decision in this downturn that they were going to cause their plants that all go together, and so they closed several of the plants, one being Bonham, Texas. And whether it was economy that drove that, plus the fact that they had some old contracts in an older plant. So it's one of those things. The VA has always been an economic driver for Bonham and Fannin County. That their employment has hovered around 400 over the past 40 years, or however long I've been here. I've been here a long time. I've never even counted that up, but 30 years, I guess. But we've worked with them several times. The government has put them on lists saying we're going to do away with the Bonham facility. It is an older facility now, but we keep getting a reprieve on that. And I'll tell you honestly, just for now, this being in 2009, that in the past year they were at about 425 employees a year ago, and because we have people from Afghanistan and from Iraq coming in, and a renewed interest in veterans and Veterans Affairs, that employment now is up to 500, and they are looking for about 25 more people now to start working in the mental aspect of some of those guys coming back. And they're doing more work in coordination with Dallas. They take a lot of our patients by bus now to Dallas each day and then bring them back. And then they have, of course, the domiciliary, which allows them to treat outpatient people who can do outpatient treatments, and then if necessary, live on the property. They also have a veterans nursing home, which is a federal veterans nursing home, which has several employees. And then we were fortunate enough, and we'll get into dates here, and I'll be in trouble. But
Dates it doesn't matter.
around late 90s, early 2000, I went down and understood from some folks that the land commissioner's office, who takes care of state Veterans Affairs, was going to build 3 nursing homes in Texas. And we worked through our then Senator David Kane, our past Senators Ted Lyon and a couple of others, and we were able to get one of those nursing homes here. I was in Austin more than I was here for about 2 months, but we testified, and we put together and the help of a lot of other people, you understand that, but we put together a proposal for the General Land Office, and finally got that up here. And yesterday, in fact, I was there for a veterans program. They have 160 patients, more than 150 people employed there, and those in Bonham.
Is that at Cosper?
Yes, it's now Clyde Cosper, and it's a wonderful facility. It's just a state-of-the-art care facility for our older veterans and their wives, and it's an incredible facility, and it has brought a lot of employment to Bonham, and nurses, doctors, all kinds of things. So it's been an incredible facility, and it has helped stabilize our Veterans Center here, our Federal Veterans Center, the Sam Rayburn VA Center, along with Clyde Cosper now, as they feed off each other, and it's just an incredible facility.
That's right. We needed it.
We needed it. There's lots of others that have come and gone through the years. I was trying to think of some of those that you look at Day Furniture. We put them here Then ultimately they left, and I was able to get Super Sac here to just in a small position down here by the old ice house.
Yeah.
A lot of people remember where that is, but we had the Super Sac there, and they called me one day and said, Roy, we're out of room down here, and they weren't coming here at all, and then because they told me that I met them one day just by chance out at a Mexican restaurant out here. What was the name? It was called Christina's or
Cristella's.
Cristella's.
Cristella's,
Yeah. Yeah, I was out at Cristella's restaurant, which is out uptown. People might know where Four Corners is, out in the, I guess, Ravenna area, not Ravenna, but
Toward Ivanhoe.
out toward Ivanhoe. And I talked to a guy named David Kellenberger, who was with them then, one of their people, and he said, I said, how's business? And he said, fine. They were in Savoy at the time. He said, we're getting ready to build a small plant in Sherman. I said, why not Bonham? And he said, well, I don't think we would be interested. And I said, I've got a perfect building that's some folks at Southwest Pump had just moved out, and we had been able to help Southwest Pump get a new loan, and through tax increment financing, or it's called by another name now, but that's what it is. And then we helped them get a loan and move out to their new facilities out north of town. So I said, we got a wonderful building. He said, well, I wouldn't be interested. We're going to go to Sherman. I said, that'll be fine. And about 2 hours later, I get a call, and he said, show me the building. And so
So you did.
I did. We ended up with, I think, about 25 employees working there. And about a year later, maybe it's a little more than that now, but he called me and he said, Roy, we're out of room down here. And I said, well, there's a manufacturing building that a gentleman named Gene Day had built to build furniture in down on Old Ector Road. And I said, it's for sale. Why don't you go look at it? So I took him down. We looked at that. And ultimately, we had about 150 employees there. They stayed there for a while. Now, they still have the building, but there's only about 12 employees left there. But they've closed down several of their plants because of the economy. And Bonham was one of those, but that occurred 7 or 8 years ago now. But they still have, I think, 12 employees down there. So that's a good thing. Through the years, all kinds of plants come to mind. I mean, I could tell you the stories behind all of them, but Clayton, who now employs about 200 here, a friend of mine called and said, a guy named Francis Moran from Honey Grove, said he was working down here at what was left of DeRose then. They were rehabbing trailers, and he said, there's some people named Clayton, and they're wanting to build a plant probably in Sherman or Denton. And I said, let's call them. And so we did, and through work with him and Gary Purdy, who's helped me on several occasions, and several people in Bonham helped, we called them, and they said, well, we are not interested. And so I wrote several letters. They said, we're not interested. And then one day, a gentleman named Jim Clayton, shows up out here at the airport and called me and said, show me that land. And so I showed him a piece of land, and ultimately we built, got together with our friends over in Paris, Harrison Harper Walker, Chip Harper, and his group. And they built a building out there, and we have a fine plant here producing homes, one of the best plants. And now, of course, Mr. Clayton is gone, and Warren Buffett now owns that,
Oh, yeah.
and Berkshire Hathaway. So
Yeah, he did. He came here.
So he touches us too.
he touches us too. Among the way I was talking about Gary Purdy, and there was a gentleman he knew from out near Savoy, and Lord forgive me, but my memory is not what Doug Kraft, a gentleman named Doug Kraft. They have raised some dogs and things, he and his wife Carol, out by Savoy. They had breakfast every morning where I did, downtown near, it's on the south side of the square, and I'm trying to think, I guess there where we have Fannin Title now, but there was, I think it used to be the Keen Cafe and something else. Anyway, but at any rate, he was in there, and I said, I understand you work for a circuit manufacturer down in Dallas, and he said, I do. And I said, I understand y'all are in Richardson. He said, yeah. I said, why not come to Bonham, Texas? He said, that's got some merit. He said, it'd sure be closer for me. And I went down, made a trip down to talk to his boss, and we talked about it. And then he and I made several trips to Washington to talk with some federal folks about grants and loans and all kinds of things, and finally got the financing put together. And then we built, or they built, and give me the name of their factory, Linda. Linda's my memory. H&R Industries, that's what it was, yeah. And H&R built a 100,000 square foot building out just to that would be the west of the runway out at the airport on about 25 acres. And just about everything I've done or been able to do has been encouraged and helped along by the Bonham Industrial Foundation. It's a group of business people and political people in Bonham who get very little acclaim, but they put together the money and the funding all through private, no tax money involved.
Who are some of them, Roy? Off the top of your head.
Through the years, I mean, I could name all my board right now, but David Turner was one of those people who was president forever, and then Bob McCraw, Carl McEachern, Warren Jameson, Ray Clark, who was the banker here, who came here. He was president for a while, a great member.
These are all some of the people that helped on.
Yes, Bert Simpson, all members and workers. Bryce McIntyre Sr. was on there in the beginning. And as I go back, Lloyd Johnson was on that board when I first started way back when. I'm trying to think some of the old ones. Those now, but Troy Sellers and Todd Thompson both from Encore and TXU. Virgil Strapp was on there back in the beginning. He was here with the gas company. Just a tremendous number of people. As I look at that board, Jim Crittenden's been on there a long time.
A lot of folks have helped.
Yeah. A lot of folks over the years, and a lot of different folks, and I probably should be able to remember all of them, but.
Well, as they come to you, you
Yes,
can add them.
I can certainly add them.
Yeah.
But we've worked on now. We had to we sold the HR building. The circuit industry took a real dip, and they started building those things in China, and it just crashed the American market. And so HR almost went into bankruptcy. And I talked to a gentleman down in Dallas. He merged his business with them. His name was McDonald, I believe, as I remember. And he stayed in business there for a couple more years. They got up to about 180 employees at one time. And so the economy finally got those two businesses, and we ultimately sold it to a group, and it was just one of the most difficult things I've ever put together. But it was called Qual Paint, Kwal, Qual Paint, and I've forgotten what their overriding industry was, or name. There was several industries that had gone together, but at any rate, they're in business today. We are their premier American plant. They are primarily they're owned by a family of folks from Mexico. And they are the largest paint producer, like 70% of the market in Mexico. So, and they have a huge plant in Mexico City. They have one in San Diego, California, one in Canada, Vancouver, and another in Denver. So we are their easternmost plant, but they are quickly making this. In fact, they're talking about if the economy does improve, they've been hit like with the economy, the downturn in home building. But this is their most productive per hour work plant and per person in the world, and even less than their Mexico City plant. So they are planning to expand as soon as the market gets better here in Bonham. Who else could we talk about?
How about Highway 82?
Well, I was trying to think some of the other. We started
some of the other plans.
the other plants. We have a young plant here named Renlita that we were able to put together a program for and get them here. We worked here. There were just two families, and a father and mother and son and daughter-in-law, and we worked with them. They came here about 3 years ago, and all of a sudden now they have just taken off. They've got 15 people working down there, and so it has become a very productive plant.
And where is that?
It's down. It's in fact, it's right down the street from you.
Oh, is that what's down?
They make big, huge glass doors that go on the front of museums and
Overhead doors.
overhead doors. Only they're made of glass that are they are incredible, and they're high-end, high-expensive doors. And they've been all over the country, from California to New York, installing these, and so it's a really good thing. Linda mentioned quietly the prisons here, but we worked on those prisons. When did we get the first one? 90.
The prisons?
The prison. Mm-hmm. We worked at that time with Senator Ted Lyon, who was just invaluable, and the city manager then was a guy named Jim Stiff, who helped write the proposal for the prison, and then we just got a lot of folks involved. In fact, we had a meeting down here. We put together a prison committee, and Jacqueline was there, and just we had 3,000 folks at that meeting, as I recall, and like 2 or 3 people spoke against it. In fact, I always remember one lady from Dodge City, and wish I could give you her name. She said, "I want you to know I'm for the prison, but I don't want it next to me." So and that was a lot of folks. You can understand that, but and they've turned out to be, and knock on wood, really safe and provided huge employment for Bonham and Fannin County over this past 20 years. We were, and I guess a funny story. I was, of course, for the Bonham Industrial Foundation. We made a lot of those meetings, and for the city of Bonham over the years of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice board meetings. And we were in a meeting in Austin, Texas, and I had taken one of our board members, Jim Crittenden, with me. And so this was after we had the first prison. We hadn't started to build it yet, but we were just about. We had the contract done, and the contractor was on board, and but we purchased enough land. In fact, we put on the Bonham Industrial Foundation and the county, with help from another group, had put money down to take. I've forgotten the term, but to hold 1,000 acres of land. We were able to put together from 3 landowners, and to do those prisons. So we'd said, okay, if Texas Department of Criminal Justice, if you'll put a prison here, we'll give you enough land to build 3 prisons. And we gave them the land to build their first prison. And while they had the contractors out there getting ready to pour the foundation and all of that, I was at a board meeting down in Austin, and they got in a big tangle. The governor at that time was Ann Richards. And I had Ann up here on a couple of occasions for various things and introduced her. At that time, I was the state president of all the councils of government in Texas. I was the state president, and which was all of the, do you know what a council of governments is? Yeah. It's all the counties, and of course ours is the Texoma Council of Government, and I'd been president a couple of terms for that for Cook, Grayson, and Fannin counties, and all the federal fundings, yeah, distribute grants and things, but and give you expertise for the cities and counties. And so I had known Ann Richards, so I was in this meeting down there, and they got into a big discussion about Ann Richards wanted another prison built, a 2,500 bed facility, and so they couldn't decide. They wanted to put it at Eastham, but somebody had problems with that, and they said maybe Houston, and Houston said we don't want another prison, and they said Dallas-Fort Worth. Dallas-Fort Worth said, well, we don't want another. So I stood up in the middle of the meeting. I guess there was 200, 250 people there. And I said, Bonham, Texas has got one prison, a 1,000-bed facility, and I said, we would love to have a second facility. And they said, well, thank you. I think the guy's name was Carol Vance, that was the chairman. And he said, I don't think we'd be interested in putting another facility in Bonham, but thank you. I said, okay. And so they argued about 30 more minutes about where to put it. And I stood up and I said, you guys have spent a lot of time and a lot of emotion here. And I said, we've got the land, we've got everything already ready. We had 3,000 citizens meet in Bonham, Texas, and had next to none of objection to putting a prison here. We'd love to have a second prison. And they said, well, thank you, but I don't think we want to put. I said, okay. And so they went on for about 45 more minutes. I was hungry and tired. And so I stood up and I said, guys, and about that time I felt somebody, and Jim Crittenden had the back of my coat tugging on it for me to sit down. I think he was a little embarrassed. But I said, y'all can't find a place in Bonham. I said, obviously the governor wants you to build another facility. I said, why not build it in Bonham, Texas? And an old man named Duncan, I've forgotten he was from Lufkin, who was on the board at that time. He said, I make a motion we go to Bonham, Texas. And
he was hungry too.
and so a second gentleman who was from Dallas, and I can't remember his name. He was an insurance salesman, ran for mayor of Dallas after that. But at any rate, he said, I'll second the motion, and the board voted for it. So we got a second facility. Now, ultimately, that was a 2,500 bed facility. They didn't want to bring that 2,500 bed in, so they had another meeting, and I was there at that meeting, Corpus Christi, where they said, okay, well, we're not going to go to Bonham with this, and we're going to go to Dallas instead. Dallas, I've forgotten, somewhere out in the Dallas area. They had decided since then that they would take it because of all the employment that was with it. And so I said, I stood up and I made a real commotion about it. And I said, you promised, and we've already made preparations for it, et cetera. So they stopped the meeting, and they send a gentleman out, and he said, look, if you, the board has talked privately, and if you won't make any more commotion. And I went out and called the governor and got the governor's office involved and several things. The governor had called them, and they said, we will give you a second 1,000-bed facility if you will just be quiet. So that's how the coal facility came into being, and it was. But that's one of those things. Let's see, other industries. I'm sure we worked, of course, with Southwest Pump when they were here, and then ultimately bought out by Schlumberger. We worked with them, and then after the ultimate buyout of Schlumberger by the folks in Indiana, Schlumberger moved that property after being in Bonham for 15 years or so, then moved back to Indiana. And left that building here, and when they did, we had a small plant outside of Bonham called Glasser Industries, or ACT, as they were referred to. And so we talked to ACT about coming to Bonham. They were growing and needed more room, so they finally bought that building, and they were there for several years making product with Jim Glasser and his fine group, a group from Ector, I guess you know Jim, and who've been very good to our community. But they operated out there, that whole Glasser family, and there's a bunch of them. And then they ultimately sold out to General Electric, and we've been working with General Electric. In fact, got some big news just lately that they were doing things here when the economic downturn started. They started to lay off employees and talked about closing this plant. We were able to talk with them and keep them here. They built a new really facility within the facility to make battery backups, and I was out with them recently to show part of those battery backups to Hewlett Packard, and then subsequently to eBay, to a battery backup that will keep their whole plant running for 24 hours with no electricity. So, I mean, it's one of those incredible things. They've got people coming from all over, which now is causing them to rethink their position, and so now they're bringing products from Poland and Switzerland to Bonham to manufacture it here, and instead of overseas. So it's been a good thing, and we've revived that plant, been able to get that done with a lot of help from Ken Porter, who is an engineer there and who has been really good to work with. Who else? My mind always at times like this. Keystone Industries. We've made big additions to the airport. We've been able to go from a 3,000-foot runway to just over 4,000 foot, and put new hangars in there, and new. At the present time we are involved in a big project to put new. I'm lost for the term, but apron there to put so you can drive on the apron, not have to drive on the runway. Our planes did have to go onto the runway and taxi down to and we now will have new taxiways that run parallel to that runway so that they can taxi off the runway and then onto the runway, which makes it ultimately safer for any plane that gets involved there. And we've got lots of new planes because of our new hangars, and we're going to possibly work on that. Through the city, ultimately, projects as everyone who's ever been to Bonham knows, and this being historical, one of the things that people will note and long remember, Bonham has been here for 150 years, and our system for sewer and water has just been, it's old. So one of the things we've been doing over the past 20 years that I've been here is trying to replace as much of that infrastructure as possible, and a lot of times people don't understand why that we don't have the best roads in the world, but it's an old city, and we've had to almost replace, where you have cities like Dallas who grew outward, and those infrastructure things that they put out there, even I can remember when the Northwest Highway was the outer ring of Dallas, and now all that's new since then, and so that's certainly better. But in Bonham, we've had to replace everything from start. So we are in a mode right now doing sewer and water. We've put a new water plant in, and just on and on. I mean, the city, by historical measures, the city of Bonham Lake is not that old. I think it was 68 that it came into being. So, and then before that, we got our water from wells and out here on the hill, but just not enough of that well water that's available anymore. So, We've talked, through the years, one of the things that I've always looked at, and lots of folks, and certainly don't get any inference here that it's just I've been involved in all these things, but there was gosh, I wish I could remember her name, Ann Hamilton. Do you know Ann Hamilton? Do you remember Ann?
I do know some.
Yeah, well, Ann Hamilton is a lady who one day early on talked to me, and she said, I have a dream for a park and some water and all kinds of things down here in South Bonham that will help South Bonham, this area right here behind the rail facility. And so we started talking about that with the city council and the city manager and all of that at the time, and then that's how this park came to be down here. Her original idea, and then a lot of other folks had input on that. But what there is, and the upgrade of downtown is all part of the Heritage Park, and we were able to get all that done through the years, and it's never been easy, and it's never been cheap. But we at the present time we're doing we've gotten some grants because of the stimulus and because of some other thing, and we're beginning to upgrade the armory to make a nice center out of that, and perhaps move our seniors down there who are having some difficulties. We're actually gonna put some air conditioning in there. It's never had air conditioning in there, and air conditioning and heating, and then upgrade their kitchen and their bathrooms and all of those things. So that will be that will be part of the projects. Will be with SECO, which is a grant that has to do with making it more green, saving electricity, and putting those things in there. And then part of the grant will be with rural economic affairs, and then part stimulus. So we've been able to piece all that together. Our current city manager has been very effective in obtaining some of those grants. So, a young man named Corby Alexander. And when I can go back through the city managers, which I've lost his name now. I had it right there. Smith, Charles Smith, was city manager here when I first came here. I think I was trying to think, and since then we've had Tom Taylor and. I've forgotten, there was another young man in there was here for a while, and well, we just had.
Jim Stiff is the one that stands out in my mind the most.
Jim, there were several. Tom Taylor, and I was trying to think. We've had a couple. Blaine Hines was here for a while. He came from Ardmore here. He's now down in Huntsville, but not as a city manager. He's retired. There was a gentleman from Eastland came here, and I can't remember his name. Excellent guy, but he had some family problems that brought him back, took him back wherever he started, and he was a great city manager. But nevertheless, we've had several over the years that have worked for and with us, and to get a lot of things accomplished here in Bonham, Texas. We talk about a lot of things that have taken place over the years, but one of those is Highway 82. When I first came to Bonham, and for many years we drove 56 back and forth to, which was then the old 82, Sherman to Sherman or to Paris, and it was a small 2-lane road and lots of accidents on that road. So we started on a project, and I didn't start the project, far be it from me. That project was started in the early 60s. Most people don't have any idea that's true, but there are drawings and plans that had gone back as far as the 60s. We organized after, in the early 80s, we organized several trips to Austin. In fact, at one point I took a whole busload of businessmen. There's more than 30 businessmen and women who went to Austin. We testified before the Highway Commission down there, Texas Department of Transportation. that we needed that highway so badly, and we worked and worked and worked and worked. Now, young people who are relatively young people who, for the past 10, 12 years have driven on that road have no idea how much work went on, but that was years and years of work just to get a 82 through there, and now we've been working subsequently since then to get it 4-laned on here, and that is going to be easier to do once the economy gets better, because that when they came through, they bought all of the right-of-way. So all of the right-of-way through Fannin County is available, and the road bed itself is put down there for that second 2 lanes. So we are well on our way. In fact, that's part of the project. I don't know if, but from Sherman to Choctaw Creek, which is about 10 miles in there now, from Sherman out back to the east, is a part of that 4-laning that will eventually take place through Fannin County. And so we worked on that project forever, spent lots of thousands of dollars of Fannin County folks who just cared about the project to go down there and testify, and led them to talk with all kinds of politicians. And you know, we've been real lucky up here to have people represent us as Ted Lyon and David Kane, and for a short while I've lost her name. She's now a senator in Plano.
Shapiro.
Yeah, Miss Shapiro, and they have Pete Patterson for a while, and then from Paris, Mark Homer, and then of course Larry Phillips has done a super job. So we've always had good representation, and David Kane represented us from the House there for a while. Didn't know he was in the House. He didn't represent us, but anyway, that is another story. But all those people we leaned on heavily for the 82, and finally got that project through, and it was certainly a long time coming and wasn't easy, but we did a lot of work on that through the years. We worked a lot through our civic clubs through the years. I was a member of Rotary for a long, long time, and the Rotary Club and our Kiwanis Club. And I just can't say the Lions, the Golden K's. Through the years, we've worked with a lot of those, you know, and I don't know. There's lots of things that we have done through those years. I was telling somebody this week, I've been on the Texoma Regional Blood Board almost from the inception of that. Almost 30 years I've been a member of the Texoma Regional Blood Board. I've served on the Council of Governments there for about 20 years. Various things from president all the way through their officer group, and then I was state president of all the Council of Governments in Texas, and a member of the board on their national organization. And all those things helped us through civic and political matters, us here in Bonham, Texas, with various grants and things through the years. I don't know, personally, we have been members of First Baptist Church all that time. When we first came here, we were members of First Baptist Church, and been through several pastors with them. Bill Beasley comes to mind, who is just a wonderful and gracious man, who was here, 14 or 15 years that we've been here, and through that time, Roger Marsh, I remember, was pastor for a while. Lee Fuller was pastor for a while. And then, of course, now Morgan Malone, who's been here. We've worked with the church and been members of that church for these many years. I guess you can't get out of this without talking about my grandchildren, who are just the light of our lives. There's a lot to be said about getting older. I guess, and there's a lot of things we could talk about, but Bonham has been very good to us. We don't take a lot of stock. I believe me, nobody knows more than I do that Bonham is a small fish in the ocean of people, but it has been wonderful to us, and their people have been very forthcoming, and wonderful and have treated me like one of them. We have, my daughter has been raised here and graduated, went to Oklahoma State University and got a degree in education and came back here. And while just when she was graduating, she had a son, Will. He's 9 years old now. A second son, Worth. What's he? He's 7.
He'll be 7 in January.
He'll be 7 in January. And then Wyatt, who is 4, will be 5 soon. And their dad is, what's his first name? Brad. Brad Lacey. And Brad is a funeral director for Cooper Sorrell's funeral home. Has been there for a while. And he works with Gerald Howard and the fine folks at Cooper Sorrell's now, a revered funeral home here in the area. My son Sean Floyd has 2 children, has a stepdaughter that is Kylie Walker, and in our school system she's in the third grade now, and she is 8 years old, just one of the lights of our lives. And her brother, she's the prettiest girl, that's right, in school. And then we have Matthew Floyd, who is our grandson, Sean's son, and he's 4 years old and just a wonderful young man. So we rarely ride in a parade or go to a public event. We don't take one or all of them. So it's we spend lots of time, and we're most lucky to have them live here with us in our city. We've kind of operated this thing. We live, fortunately, in a home up on 408 Rainey, and I don't know the old property who it belonged. It belonged, when we came here, to a doctor who had a box car out there and just a swimming pool. His name was Max Ayers. And
That was the racetrack.
we're told that years ago it was called the old racetrack grounds, but we have 7 acres up there, and then ultimately a doctor came here, and a fine surgeon was here for a while. His name was Lopez, Dr. Rene Lopez, that's right. Ask my memory here. Rene Lopez was a physician here, and he was Ecuadorian. Had built a house here with his family, and then the house kind of fell to ruin, and over the years, and then I loved the property, fell in love with the property, and a lady from San Antonio had bought it, a doctor from San Antonio, and she had thought she would retire up here, but life didn't go the way she wanted, and so she put it up for sale. And when she did, I was able to buy that in the late 90s, and then able to restore the house. And so it's, we've lived in Bonham, lived on Lusk Street a long time, and several other places. I guess I was trying to think of something else that might be pertinent to the radio station. Yeah, how much time have we got here? Well, I'll try to 20 minutes. All right. Well, I'll try to keep it in 20 minutes. The radio station has a real history in Bonham and Fannin County. It was really, do you know what KFYN stands for?
Used to. I don't
Oh,
know.
as I understand it, and I only know what people have told me, but when Mr. Svoboda, who has the ties today through Mrs. Ray Campbell, Gloria Campbell, who was the Swoboda, and her family owned at one time the radio station and the newspaper here. And then several other names intervened, but we were able to buy it in '75. It was having a real difficulty when we got here. They just financially it was in difficult straits, and I was buying small town radio stations where I could. I always tell people we were so poor, the poor folks thought we were poor. My dad was a Baptist preacher and had been in Frederick, Oklahoma, as a pastor of Bible Baptist Church there for several years. He went there in 1954 on my birthday in '54, after he graduated from Bible Baptist Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. And he passed away. He pastored for 54 years in the same church. But we moved here to take care of the radio station, and at the time, Bill Bennett was here, and he worked for us for many, many years. And a guy named Bob Holliday worked for us. In fact, a lot of folks, through the years, we were able to employ all those years, and we had good times and bad times. But we worked at the radio station. We tried to be a part of the community. One of the things that I think is lacking today, and there's just not much local radio left. The powers that be back then said you could only own 5 radio stations or 6 radio stations. That kept changing, but now you can own all you can buy, and so the big guys have bought them up. But back then, particularly when we came here, we tried to do local news and a local trading post where people bought and sold things through the years. And then our local news was always who had passed away and when their funerals were going to be, and what events were taking place in the city. And we tried to be a part of everything that was going on. So as we went down the road, we were able to put the FM on, which expanded our listening area, not only in area, but the number of radios, FM radios could get us then on 98.3. And then a lot of our older folks still listened on 1420 AM. And then we were able to be on the cable. A lot of folks listened to us on the cable, on back then Channel 24, I think. Or we did lots of things. We raised lots of money for the community on various things, whether the chamber. We had chamber auctions, and we did a lot over the years to help various radiothons for Jerry's Kids and just thousands of things that we were able to do. We never charged nonprofits for their time. It was always free, and we were able to promote those things that were taking place in Bonham and Fannin County, for that matter. We advertised live a lot of times at events in Honey Grove or Leonard, Wolf City, Savoy, Ladonia. We've done about all of it, and then our churches, we were able to give them a voice on Sundays particularly, and work with the Ministerial Alliance to raise food and all kinds of things for other people. And I think community involvement was the big thing for us through the years, is that we wanted to stay community involved. Then we sold the radio station or got a contract on it, I guess, in early 2000, maybe earlier than that. And then we ultimately sold the AM. We sold the FM first to a group out of Dallas, and then sold the AM later to Spanky Carter, who is still here operating that on 1420 AM. So, but most rewarding through the years is, just getting. Oh, you do miss it, especially and lots of people. And I've done lots of things. I've been involved in lots of things, and probably some that people don't know about. But we were involved in a restaurant here called Bonham City Limits for a while. Early on, we had and I can't even remember the name of it, a little sewing operation,
Fabric store.
fabric store
I don't remember.
that we were involved in.
The spinning wheel, that was it.
And yeah, we had one called the Spinning Wheel in Frederick, Oklahoma, but and we had a radio station there for a while. Trying to think here, the Bonham city limits. Did I say that already?
Yes, I forgot you on that for
Mhm.
a while. That was fun.
Yeah, it was lots of fun, and
But he really doesn't miss any of those.
I
Like he misses the radio station.
Yeah.
The radio station was a way that he could get things accomplished, and it's hard now without that to do it.
You don't have that.
And the other thing is the high school football games.
Yeah,
He
we-
was the voice
Oh,
of
yeah.
the Warriors for so long, and the first year he didn't do that. It was kind of sad.
Yeah.
It was.
yeah,
it was
for
a
more
mental adjustment.
yeah, for more than 30 years, we did play-by-play of all the basketball games and for football games, and so it was certainly a mental adjustment. It was that, but it's been a rewarding 35, 40 years here in Bonham,
Guess
Texas.
so. Well, what are you doing today? I don't mean today per se. But mean,
I understand.
What do you do?
Well, we've started several things. One of the things that we've been doing, we've got a thing called Floyd Warehouse that is out north of Bonham, and we salvage hospitals all over the United States for the past 10 years. We go in when a hospital closes or moves to new facilities, and those things they leave inside. In fact, I was looking around, all the chairs that are in this room came from Floyd Enterprises.
did.
And so we've been able to let folks buy it, where these chairs normally would cost $159 to $259 a piece. We sell chairs for $10 and $20 a piece, and so and all kinds of things. We've a lot of hospital items that we were able to buy and resell for lots less than what would be market on them, and then at the same time make money. And Linda and I've had a great time doing that over the past 10 years. We've traveled a lot, got to go from Maryland to California to. We haven't been in the Northwest, but we've been all over Florida, and
You go out and you buy the stuff
we-
and bring it back?
we go out and go into a hospital and make a bid on it. If we get the bid, then we hire folks there, bring it all down to the dock and sell some of it there. And what we don't sell, we put on trucks and truck it back here, unload it in our building, and sell it to folks here in the area.
Does Sean still
And
work there? Now, he
Sean
was-
doesn't work there with us now. He worked for a long time with us to help us get that started, our son, but he is presently in charge of the emergency room in McKinney. Of course, he's a registered nurse, and he is, well, I guess charge nurse is what they call him at the McKinney Hospital, and doing a great job. He worked before that, worked at Wilson and Jones some, and then at TMC and several other hospitals. In fact, he worked here at Red River for a while in their surgery department. So he has
Well,
been
he was
busy
out
doing
there
that.
when I
But
went
yeah,
out there one time to buy something a long time ago.
he worked with me out there for a long time. After he came back from the Navy, he went to the Navy, served in Desert Storm. In fact, it's hard to believe that I'm this old, but he spent about 12 years in the Navy as a corpsman and all of that. And so we have it all, but it's been a pleasant journey. Any other questions? I think I started somewhere and told other stories, but I was saying that I'd been on the Texoma Regional Hospital Board for all these years, for 28, 29 years.
Not hospital.
Excuse me, Texoma Blood Board, and which furnishes blood for all of our 3 counties as an independent blood board. But through those years, I've served on just about every committee. I've been on the chamber board and served as officer in most of these, but I also served on the COG, on all of their boards, I've been on the Meals on Wheels. In fact, for the past 7 or 8 years, I've been on the Meals on Wheels board, but I had been there before. But a group of our elected officials took over that board about 6 years ago. I've served on the boards for every major thing in Fannin County through the years,
I bet you have.
and spent lots of times. Somebody was kidding me this week. They said, "How many boards are you on now?" And I said, "There's 23 boards of some form that I'm on." And so, if there is a board, and sometimes we got something done, sometimes it was a meeting, whether just a meeting to go to. But I've tried to faithfully execute those duties that were assigned to me, whether it be a group got together 3 years ago and started the Heritage Days Festival. I've been on that board, and we've worked at that faithfully, and Judy Teller, and who's been secretary to me forever. And before that, Georgia Jenkins was. But have just tried to keep me up with all the places that I needed to go and things I needed to do. But her and Gene Craig on the Heritage Festival. But other than that, everything from tourism to the library board, Friends of Sam Rayburn, all of those things. I've been on all of those boards, and I could enumerate them all, but I'm sure there are lots of things that everybody knows, and if I ever am anything in history, then those things can always be shown somewhere that I spent my time in on lots of boards and things. But I think the thing that Linda and I would both like to say is that Fannin County has been very, very good to us, and we appreciate the fine people like Jacqueline and all the people of Fannin County who